My name is Daniel Harper. I'm 42 years old, and up until last year, I thought I had it all. A steady job in finance, a beautiful house in the suburbs, 2 kids I adored, and a wife I had loved for more than 15 years. But sometimes, life doesn't fall apart in explosions. Sometimes, it unravels thread by thread until one day, you realize the person lying next to you in bed isn't your partner anymore. It started with small things. Emma, my wife, became distant. She stopped asking how my day was, stopped laughing at my corny jokes, stopped caring if I came home late. At first, I blamed work stress, the kids, the monotony of marriage. But deep down, I knew something darker was growing. One night, I walked into the kitchen to grab a glass of water, and I overheard Emma on the phone. Her voice was low. "Sharp, I don't care, David. He'll never fight me. He can't afford to. Once the divorce goes through, the house is mine. He'll crawl away like he always does." My hand froze on the faucet. My throat went dry. Divorce? The house? Crawl away? I stood there in the shadows, my heart pounding in my ears. The woman I had built a life with was plotting to rip it all away. And worse, she didn't even think I was capable of fighting back. The next morning, I asked her about it. "Emma," I said carefully over breakfast, "do you want a divorce?" She didn't even flinch. She just sipped her coffee and said, "Yes, and I want the house. You can't afford to fight me, Daniel, so don't embarrass yourself by trying." Just like that. Cold. Final. I stared at her, searching for any trace of the woman I had married. The woman who once danced barefoot in the kitchen with me at midnight. But she was gone. Instead, there was someone else. Someone cruel. "You can't do this," I whispered. Her lips curled into a smirk. "Watch me." That day at work, I couldn't focus. Numbers blurred on the screen. Phone calls went unanswered. All I could hear was her voice. "You can't afford to fight me." She was right. Divorce lawyers cost money I didn't have. And Emma knew it. See, after years of financial strain, helping my parents with medical bills, paying off debts, covering private school for our kids, I didn't have much left. Emma, on the other hand, had her own accounts. Money from her family. Savings she never shared. She was counting on me being too broke, too beaten down to fight. And maybe a part of me was. That night, I sat in my car in the driveway long after I got home. I couldn't bring myself to open the door. Inside was my family, my kids, innocent and unaware, and my wife, who was already sharpening her knives. I felt like a man already buried alive. But then something inside me shifted. Maybe it was the thought of losing my children. Maybe it was the thought of being erased from the life I had built with my own hands. Or maybe it was just the sheer arrogance of Emma thinking I'd roll over. Whatever it was, I made a choice. If she wanted war, she was going to get it. That night, while Emma slept peacefully in our bed, I sat in the living room staring at the glow of my laptop screen. I typed, "How to represent yourself in divorce court," into the search bar. I was terrified. But I was also determined. If Emma thought I couldn't afford a lawyer, she was right. But that didn't mean I was defenseless. I began reading everything I could find. Articles on property division, custody laws, financial disclosures. I devoured case studies, watched endless hours of free legal seminars on YouTube, even downloaded PDFs of state statutes. I wasn't a lawyer. But I had 2 things Emma underestimated: discipline and patience. And for the first time in years, I felt something new stirring inside me. A fire. The more I studied, the more I realized Emma had made mistakes. See, she wasn't just cold. She was careless. She left papers lying around, half-shredded receipts, emails left open on her tablet. One night, when she went out with friends, I noticed her laptop glowing in the kitchen. Curiosity got the better of me. I opened it. There it was. An email chain with a man named David. The same David she had whispered to on the phone. And the messages made my stomach twist. "Once you get the house, I'll move in. It'll finally be ours. Don't worry about Daniel. He's too weak to fight." My vision blurred with rage. Not only was she plotting to take my house, she was planning to move another man into it. I copied every email, every message. Evidence. Emma thought I was weak, but I was watching. The next morning, Emma dropped the bomb officially. "Papers on the table. I want a divorce," she said flatly. "I'll take the house. You can keep whatever's left." She slid the documents toward me like she was handing me a death sentence. I glanced at them calmly, my heart pounding but my face unreadable. "I'll review them," I said softly. Her smirk widened. "Don't waste your time. You can't afford to fight this." If only she knew. Because while she believed she had already won, I was preparing for battle, quietly, methodically. I reached out to an old friend, Mark. He wasn't a lawyer, but he had gone through a nasty divorce himself. He knew the tricks, the traps, the games. Over beers at a quiet bar, I told him everything. He leaned back, shaking his head. "She's underestimating you, man. That's her biggest mistake. Family court doesn't just look at who has the most money. They look at evidence, behavior, and if what you're saying is true about this David guy, she's in trouble." My chest tightened. "But I can't afford—" "You don't need a shark lawyer," Mark interrupted. "You need to be smart, precise, use her arrogance against her. People like Emma, they always leave cracks." He was right, and I was going to find every crack. The hardest part was pretending everything was normal for the kids. Sarah, 12, and Ben, 9, innocent, unaware of the storm about to rip their world apart. Every night, I tucked them into bed, forcing a smile while inside. I was breaking. "Daddy," Sarah whispered one night, "why is Mommy so angry all the time?" I swallowed hard. "Sometimes grown-ups forget how to be kind," I said softly. "But I promise you this, I'll never stop fighting for you." And I meant it, because this wasn't just about the house anymore. This was about protecting my children from a woman who had forgotten what love was. Weeks passed. I studied harder than I ever had in my life. I built binders of documents, bank statements, text logs, emails. And then, one night, I stumbled across something that made everything click. Emma had been siphoning money, quietly moving funds into a separate account under David's name. Thousands of dollars. Money she thought I'd never notice, but I noticed. And with every receipt I copied, every screenshot I saved, my case grew stronger. Emma believed she was untouchable. But the higher she built her tower, the harder it was going to fall. A month later, the official summons arrived. Emma had filed for divorce. The papers were thick, stapled, and full of demands. She wanted sole custody of the kids, the house, the cars, and even a portion of my paycheck for spousal support. I sat at the kitchen table, reading through the list. My hands trembling. It wasn't just greed. It was annihilation. Emma didn't want half. She wanted everything, and she thought she could get it because I had no lawyer. But what she didn't know was that I had been preparing for this moment. Every late night reading legal documents, every screenshot of her emails, every trace of money she had siphoned off. It was all ready. I wasn't going to roll over. The first hearing was brutal. Emma walked in with a high-powered attorney by her side. Sharp suit, expensive briefcase, smug grin. Me? I walked in alone, just a binder in my hand. Emma smirked when she saw me. "Told you," she whispered under her breath. "You can't afford to fight me." But what she didn't understand was this. It's not the size of the lawyer that wins. It's the strength of the truth. When the judge asked for opening remarks, Emma's attorney painted me as a neglectful husband, a man who had abandoned his marital duties and couldn't provide for his family. I stayed silent, letting them dig their own hole. Then, when it was my turn, I stood up and spoke calmly. "Your Honor, I may not have a lawyer, but I do have evidence. Evidence that my wife has been unfaithful, has hidden assets, and is attempting to mislead this court." The courtroom went quiet. I opened my binder and slid the first stack of documents to the bailiff. Emails, bank, transfers, screenshots. The judge's eyebrows lifted as he flipped through the pages. Emma's face drained of color. From that moment on, the tide began to shift. Her attorney tried to object, to dismiss my findings as taken out of context. But the judge wasn't blind. "Mrs. Harper," the judge said sternly, "these documents indicate thousands of dollars being transferred to an account not disclosed in your financial affidavit." "Can you explain this?" Emma stammered. Her attorney jumped in, fumbling for words. But the damage was done. For the first time, Emma looked rattled. And I felt something I hadn't felt since the night I overheard her phone call. Hope. The next battle was custody. Emma demanded sole custody, arguing I was too busy with work to raise them. But then Sarah, my 12-year-old, was given a chance to speak privately with the judge. When she came back, her eyes found mine, and the judge cleared his throat. Based on testimony, it's clear the children have a strong bond with their father and wish to remain in his care at least half the time. Custody will be shared, not sole. Emma's lips tightened, her perfect plan slipping further out of reach. She glared at me, her eyes full of fire. "You'll pay for this," she hissed under her breath. But I just sat back, calm, because I knew she was the one paying. Weeks dragged into months. Each hearing was another battlefield. Emma came armed with accusations. But every time I countered with evidence, calm, precise, unshakable. Finally, during financial discovery, I presented the smoking gun, proof that Emma and David had been funneling money into a joint account overseas. The courtroom gasped. The judge's voice was icy. "Mrs. Harper, failure to disclose assets is perjury. Do you realize the severity of this offense?" Emma stammered, her face pale. Her attorney fumbled, demanding recesses, objecting to everything. But it was too late. Her arrogance had blinded her. She thought I'd never fight. She thought I'd never notice. But I noticed. And now, she was trapped. Part 15. The Shattered Illusion and the Final Custody Hearing. Emma broke. In front of the judge, she launched into a tirade. "He's manipulating everyone. He's turning the kids against me. He's pathetic. He's nothing without me." The courtroom went silent. The judge's gavel slammed down. "Enough," the judge said sternly. "This court has seen sufficient evidence of deceit, dishonesty, and misconduct. Custody will remain joint. The marital home will not be awarded solely to Mrs. Harper. And given the hidden assets, spousal support is denied." Emma's face crumpled. Her perfect plan, to destroy me, to take everything, was in ruins. When the hearing ended, I walked past her. She wouldn't look at me. For years, she had called me weak, a coward, someone who would crawl away. But in the end, it wasn't me crawling away, it was her. After the ruling, Emma stormed out of the courthouse without a word. Her heels clacked sharply on the marble floor, each step louder than the last. For years, she had held power over me. For years, she believed I would fold, that I would surrender everything I had worked for. But now, the mask was shattered. I walked out a free man, not free of responsibilities, not free of challenges, but free of her control. The house was mine to share with my children. Custody was joint, and her attempt to bleed me dry financially had backfired spectacularly. But I didn't feel joy. Not yet. What I felt was hollow. Because winning in court didn't erase the years of betrayal. It didn't erase the fact that the woman I once loved had tried to destroy me. That night, Sarah and Ben sat with me on the couch. "Daddy," Sarah whispered, Are we going to be okay?" I pulled her close, Ben curling up against my other side. "Yes," I said firmly. "We're going to be okay. Better than okay. We're going to build something new. Together." For years, I had been so consumed with keeping the marriage afloat that I hadn't realized the kids had seen it all. The coldness, the arguments, the quiet cruelty. Now, they finally saw something else. A father who refused to give up. News travels fast in small communities. People began to whisper about Emma's affair, the hidden accounts, the courtroom drama. Friends she once bragged to stopped calling. Family who once adored her began asking questions she couldn't answer. And David, the man she risked everything for, he disappeared the moment the judge exposed the offshore account. Emma had gambled her family, her reputation, her future, and she lost it all. The months that followed were the hardest and most liberating of my life. I threw myself into being present for Sarah and Ben. I cooked breakfast, helped with homework, showed up to every soccer game and piano recital. The house, once filled with tension and cold silence, slowly became a home again. We painted the walls. We planted a garden. We filled the rooms with laughter. Was it easy? No. Some nights I lay awake, haunted by everything I had endured. But each morning I woke up with purpose, because survival had turned into something more. Living. 6 months later, Emma called. Her voice was small, broken. "Daniel, can we talk?" We met at a cafe. She looked older, worn down, her eyes heavy with regret. "I made mistakes," she admitted quietly. "I thought I could take everything. I thought you'd never fight back." I stared at her. searching for sincerity. But even then, her words felt hollow. "Emma," I said firmly, "I'm not here for apologies. I'm here because we share children. That's all. They deserve parents who can at least be civil. But you and I, we're finished." She nodded, tears in her eyes. But I felt nothing. No anger, no love, just closure. Looking back, I realize Emma's arrogance saved me. If she hadn't underestimated me, if she hadn't pushed so hard, maybe I would have stayed trapped forever, living in her shadow, believing I wasn't strong enough to stand alone. But she gave me no choice. She forced me to find a strength I didn't know I had. And in the end, I wasn't the one crawling away. I was the one walking forward. So if you're listening to my story, here's what I want you to take away. Never let anyone convince you that you're powerless. Never let someone's money, arrogance, or threats define your worth. Because strength isn't about the size of your lawyer or the size of your bank account. Strength is about refusing to break when the world wants you to. My wife said I couldn't afford to fight her. She was right, but I couldn't afford not to. Now, when I sit at the dinner table with my kids, laughter echoing off the walls of the house Emma once tried to steal, I feel something I thought I'd lost forever. Peace. The scars are still there. The pain will always be a part of me. But so is the lesson. You don't truly know your own strength until it's tested, and when the person you trust most tries to break you. Sometimes, the greatest revenge is simply refusing to fall. Final word? My wife demanded a divorce and the house. She told me, "You can't afford a lawyer to fight me." And she was right. I couldn't afford a lawyer, but I could afford to stand up for myself. And in the end, that was enough.